Hello everyone, and welcome to EdHeroes Global Online Forum 2024, Cultural Heritage in Education. I'm Olga Soulahaki, co-founder of Imagine Heritage NPO, and the moderator for today's session, hosted by EdHeroes Greece Hub, organized by Imagine Heritage NPO. We are thrilled to have you join us for this engaging online event, where we will explore the theme, the cultural heritage as a global education experience. This session explores the transformative power of cultural heritage in fostering global education. Our speakers will delve into how cultural heritage sites, traditions, and artifacts can be leveraged to create immersive and inclusive learning experiences. We shall start with Ms. Selma Rizvik, Professor of Computer Graphics at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering, University of Sarajevo, Association President of TIGIBA.
Thank you very much. We are actually doing the cultural heritage applications using modern technologies and using the especially VR and AR technologies. I'm now sharing the screen. Hopefully it is visible. So I will briefly tell you who we are and how we are doing it, and I will put the emphasis on our latest project, She Leaders VR. So we are called Sarajevo Graphics Group, founded in 2004 at the Faculty of Electrical Engineering in Sarajevo. And we realized immediately that in order to apply computer graphics to cultural heritage, we need to include the other professionals such as artists, archaeologists, historians, writers, film and video professionals, even musicians. So we created the NGO Digi.ba, where we gather all these colleagues and professionals. We are doing the cultural heritage virtual presentations mainly. Also, we are working on digital content for the museums, and we are doing some production of VR movies. The project that I want to mention is She Leaders VR. It is a Creative Europe grant that we got in 2022, and it is about presenting the queens of medieval Balkans countries and the locations where they have lived using VR and AR technologies. So first of all, we selected the queens, one per each country, and we wanted to present the queens who really ruled, not only the wives of kings. Then we designed the application structure for VR. So basically, at the beginning, the user is in one castle that we invented, and he has 5 doors around him or her. Each door leads to different country, and when the user enters there, the queen tells him or her the story about her life and mentions some artifacts that he or she will need to collect in the gameplay part of the application. First of all, we collected historical information, of course, because we engaged our colleagues, historians, the partners from these countries. The countries are Bosnia, Serbia, Montenegro, Albania, and North Macedonia. And then we created some design, visual styling, created scenarios, and went to the field to record the locations where the queens used to live. We created 360 videos that will later be used as backgrounds for our digital storytelling. After that, our colleague, visual artist, has made some concept art inspired by the medieval art from the region and also historical crests, and designed the UI for our application. As you can see, the application is in all 5 languages plus English. And then the modelers created the assets for the VR application, such are the reconstructions of historical buildings in Kruja, Albania. There is old basilica, then a castle in Bosnia and Herzegovina, then the royal palace in Skopje. You see in the upper photo how it looks like now, only remains, and then the other photos are reconstructions. Then we reconstructed one of the towers in the fortress in Kruševac in Serbia, and an old monastery in Cetinje, Montenegro. Of course, we also created some other assets such as starting and final room and some interior objects and some NPCs. The application was developed by a team of 5 developers, and we did it in Unity 3D, starting from blocking scenes to full VR application. The queens were recorded on green screen. One actress, famous actress from our country, Selma Al-Spahic, was playing all 5 queens, and the costumes were designed also in collaboration with historians according to the outfits that the queens used to wear. Once we finished that, we composited the queen's footage into 360 videos that we recorded previously and put the 3D reconstructions of the objects where they used to live over the video, so they pop out in front of the user and show him or her the place where the queen used to live. The game starts with an intro cinematic that basically gives the user the introduction in the topic and his or her mission while playing the game. We also populated the VR with some NPCs and some crits, which are the crowd characters for this, for example, village that you see. Aside of VR, we created also the AR application. You see here, you come to the location with your mobile phone, then you align the drawing with the object that you see in front of you, and then a queen appears and starts talking, and the reconstruction is behind her. This is very useful because people, when they go to archaeological place, they usually don't understand what they are seeing. So this way, the queen appears and tells them, and the reconstruction of the building is behind here. Now I will show you the trailer of the application, very short video where you can see what it is all about.
I think we don't have a sound, or is it normal? Does the video have a sound?
I don't know why there is no sound. I have it, but doesn't matter. You can also just look at the video and follow. It's very short. So here you can see the gameplays that are a part of the application, and the user is looking for artifacts and collecting them.
Because time is ticking away.
The queen is inviting the user to the application and finishes with the logo, the link, and the partners logos. Of course, European Union compulsory logo. So this is the trailer. Sorry for the sound. I don't know. Probably I should have pressed something in Zoom. Regardless, so this is where we are in the application. Now we are supposed to do some user testing and some fine tuning, and then to go in all the countries and install it in the museums that are related with the historical locations where the queens used to live. So the visitors of the museums can see and learn about history of this region. Of course, we will do also some promotion and dissemination. There is another project that we have in progress. It is also Creative Europe grant called Stečakland, and it is about the ornaments from these tombstones that you see in the slide. Which we all know they are UNESCO protected, very famous from the Balkans region, but very few people understand the meaning of these ornaments, and we want to inform the public about that meanings through VR and AR applications, and also a theater play that will have the VR headset that one actor will wear, and the audience will see the virtual and the physical reality during the play. This is all from me. I thank you very much for your attention, and thank you for inviting me to this event.
Thank you very much, Selma, for your insights. Let's move on to the next speaker. Ms. Claudia Grünberg, Deputy Director of the Institute Heritage Studies.
Hello, and thank you very, very much for inviting me to this amazing event and for sharing my experiences in heritage education. I want to talk about one thing. I really like the idea of the world in mind, a reflexive and learner-centered approach to heritage education. But first of all, who am I? Who are we? We are the Institute Heritage Studies. We are based in Berlin. And it's a research center founded and headed by Professor Dr. Marie-Therese Albert. And our mission is to promote the sustainable protection and, of course, the use of the heritage of humanity in all its different facets. So we conduct research and we implement education projects based on the research, mainly in the fields of UNESCO World Heritage, but also intangible heritage and documentary heritage. So the research and science part is mainly the serious heritage studies that I just want to show to you. So it's based on transnational research with lots of many renowned scientists from all over the world who take part in this publication. But now I want to draw your attention on the educational part we are doing, because we use all this knowledge to go into education and look at how we can actually convey the heritage of humanity to people nowadays. And our last big project that is just about to be finishing, or is pretty much finished right now, is Young Climate Action for World Heritage. This is an innovative project combining the topics of world heritage, sustainability, and climate change, and going to young people and talking to them about what is heritage in times of climate change and what do they have to do with it. So the project framework is we took 6 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. As you may know, World Heritage Sites are sites that are important for all humanity, designated by UNESCO. They can be either cultural or natural. And we had 6 very diverse sites going from the Wadden Sea, a trilateral sites, a natural heritage site, to archaeological places, to palaces and parks, but also to mining sites, where you could really see the variety of what is climate change today doing to our sites, and even more important, what are the capacity of the sites to adapt to it and to promote sustainable thinking and acting. So these 6 sites, coupled up with 21 different schools from Germany, Netherlands, Denmark, and Poland, and Czech, so always transnational. And for one school year, they worked together on one site with the students, getting to know the sites, getting to know the problems of climate change, and figuring out what the young people could do about that. So our project community, as you can see here, is mainly, of course, the students. But if you work with students, you always work with teachers. So they are really an important part of the project community. And of course, we needed to work with the people who are most experienced in conveying the value of World Heritage, the World Heritage staff, the actors. In 2 years, we had to get them together and answer the question, how can young people become active in World Heritage and climate protection? So what we did is we took the students first on site. So every student just worked on one site. And we had a 4 days workshop that were really hands-on reflection based on students' interest, always starting with, what do you find interesting here? How do you feel? What is your relation to the site? Then taking them there, doing bicycle rides, doing hands-on activities, like really taking the earth, feeling something, getting together, big reflection sessions every evening. And to just sum up to you a bit, what was the approach behind it all? Usually when we talk about heritage and education, we talk very often about an education for heritage, meaning what skills does a person need to have in order to conserve a heritage site. What we do here more is kind of an education through World Heritage, to say we want to educate people based on the immense potential heritage sites have for education. So that means we have a learner-centered approach. We looked at what is the students' interest, and as we all know, young people are very interested in climate change. So that was something that we kind of used as a vehicle to draw their attention also. We did it action-oriented, so the students had 1 school year to develop their own projects, and we didn't say what project that is, they were free to choose. We did it transnational. This is always the great thing about World Heritage. So this is a transnational concept in general. It's about working together in a global context. So reflecting different perspectives, here mainly from two countries always coming together, is really helpful to broaden the mindset of the young people. Then we tried to establish in the project a kind of new narratives on site, not always starting with history, but really starting on what do we see here today? Do you see challenges? Do you see a lot of trees dying? Do you see a lot of flooding or fires? Or what is happening here? And so linking the site to future questions and to sustainable development. And that was interesting because the sites we worked with really needed to kind of adapt their usual programs a bit to kind of fit in what we wanted for the program. And in the end, this is what I would call transformative learning. So we wanted to create learning experience that supports students to shape a sustainable future in the end. And this is what I mean with education through World Heritage. So in the end, the students produced a variety of student projects. To name only a few, we saw escape games, we saw mystery dinners, we saw podcasts, we saw movies, we saw a great art exhibition. So many different things, but I think what they all have in common and what it comes down to was that they connected with these heritage sites in this 1 year that they worked with them. And they kind of spoke up. They decided, what I want to do is I want to pass on this knowledge. I want to raise awareness with my peers for these heritage sites. And that was actually the main success of the whole project. And since I don't have much time, I can just say, please visit our website. We have all these projects in the sector of arts, games and quizzes, media that the young people did. And you can look at them in our website, see the videos, see the podcast that they did. And I hope you like it. And I'm very interested to get into an exchange with you all. And thank you so much.
Thank you so much as well. It was very insightful. So let's continue with Mr. Piotr Michalowski, board member of the European Network of Cultural Centers, ECC, Brussels.
Thank you so much, Olga. Thank you so much, Spiros, for the invitation. I wish to congratulate the whole team for great efforts in organizing this highly insightful forum and the Imagine Heritage Greece, the EdHeroes Greece Hub, for bringing great speakers to this session. And I wish, without further ado, to share some elements related to the projects we are related to, and also personally I am able to implement them in the trajectory of cultural heritage, education, and civic participation. So thank you for the welcoming. ENCC is a NGO based in Brussels. Since 1994, it's a network that connects several cultural institutions that they are in majority located in the non-urban areas. And we are trying to build the cultural-led development message and the cultural heritage-led development message throughout Europe in all of our activities. And apart from that, I also represent the Cultural Roots program of the Council of Europe. And what I want to share as a, let's say, founding message is the heritage that is part of the embracing concept that we are trying to so much connect with the triple transformation. So for ourselves, heritage is embracing the aspects of green, social, and digital, the pillars of the triple transformation. And I want to share with you a few projects that they are related purely to that message. First of all, ENCC is organizing the UpGrants, the Cascading Grants Program, Embracing Green and Sustainability agenda. And we have been since 2020 organizing the micro financial injections, the micro granting program that has gathered already a few hundreds of great projects from all over Europe. We have been able to fund only few of them, but the treasure box can be found on our website, encc.eu. And the majority of them are are connected to the cultural heritage and to the ecosystem idea, in which the small grant, it's not consumed, but rather it's igniting this power of human togetherness and encircling all the important messages around the cultural heritage. You can see the projects on our website, and they are highly inspiring for the other peers to dive into. And we have been starting this program with the SOS concept, which for us, the abbreviation stands for Seeds of Sustainability. So quite a significant message that was sent already since 2020 when the pandemic crisis became our reality. And we have been further on continuing to support the cultural sector. The second aspect that I want to share with you of the project is embracing the society. And we have been recently concluding on a quite large-scale projects located in Silesia, the highly industrialized region in Poland, where the Metallurgy Museum and the City Museum decided to completely change its ways, to change its strategy, and to give the floor to civil society. We have been using the methodology of citizen science and heritage-led development in order to organize hundreds of surveys, meetings, and seminars in order the heritage to be the most important bonding element for the society, that despite living in the megalopolis surroundings, it's considered to be part of the urban peripheries, meaning the divisions of the former districts are so visible still in nowadays times. You can see all the statistics of the project and some photos from the meetings, which led to great results, and generally also it helped to develop the citizen science toolkit that was launched by Una Europa Alliance of 11 universities in Europe. And this is something also to be checked online, and a lot of footage is there. So I encourage you to dive into that material. And the third aspect, the third component, is related to the digitalization, and it's related to one of the another projects we are implementing in the city of Zabrze, which borders with Chorzów. And there, the digitalization lab is providing a quite impressive amount of objects that they have already 3D scanned, meaning the buildings, that this is the vanishing tradition, unfortunately, with the phasing down of the coal mining heritage. Also, this heritage is vanishing every day. We are trying to capture all of that, capture the documentation. You can see the statistics, 15,000 pages per month. Colleagues are scanning, also 3 to 4 sites a month, which are being unfortunately demolished during the quite rapidly ongoing phasing down. But of course, we are connecting that with just transition, and we are trying to protect the heritage, and not only the objects, but of course, and the sites, but of course, the memories, and what connects the generations that they have been, let's say, part of this heritage of the region, to keep this ongoing. And the digital tools, as VR, as all metaverse and immersive technologies, are highly supporting us in that way. And to conclude with, I want to share a heritage project with you, which is combining all those three aspects. It's a Horizon Europe ongoing multilateral project since 2023 till 2026. It's a catalyst of everydayness for people, unifying hub. It's the project that really presents how, in a participatory way, the cultural heritage through digital technologies, so through VR, through XR, could be transformed. And so we are having quite interesting toolkits already developed, the Practimap, the Hericraft, so all the gaming and gamification methodologies, using SustainAct, using all types of engineering and architectural novelties in order to translate the technological progress into some very approachable messages to the society, where this sort of novelties are helping to decide on what kind of a transformation, what kind of suggestions to upgrade of the cultural heritage can be done locally. So I can encourage you to visit our website, heritag.eu, a very easy web address, and you may see what type of synergies we are also building. And since 2026, there is a lot of time to learn more about those tools and about those practices that they are quite engaging different members of the society. And last but not least, just to mention about the events that they are upcoming, that we are also as ENCC trying to influence with the message that the heritage should be part of the future, and especially that the young generation should have its say, especially on the heritage agenda. So the second Kujawian-Pomeranian Cultural Congress in Poland, which will happen in October, I can already encourage you to join this event, and it will have a very strong component of the youth participation in cultural heritage. It's a northern part of Poland, and 1 month after, in November, in Vienna, the Arts and Cultural Management Conference, already nth edition of the event. And also we are trying to bridge the gap, the generational gap, for not only bringing youngsters to the audience, but especially to the stage, because the heritage, as we have been already saying, it's a processor of our development. It's not part of the history, but it's part of the future. So I would wish to thank you for your attention, and let's stay connected. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Piotr, for sharing all these important initiatives with us. And let's continue with Miss Vanessa Menendez Montero, Assistant Professor in Public International Law and EU Law at the Autonomous University of Madrid.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we
okay.
can hear you.
Thank you so much, Olga. Thank you also to Imagine Heritage for the invitation, and to EdHeroes Greece for hosting this global forum. In the following 8 minutes, I will try to give a rather theoretical overview of the interrelationship between cultural heritage and education as a human right. So now it's apparent that cultural heritage is essential to the construction of one's cultural identity. As a set of sociocultural manifestations, cultural identity gives us this belonging sense of and community with our peers. And for this reason, cultural identity has been closely tied to the concept of human dignity in the main international human rights instruments. Under this premise, of course, we can argue that cultural heritage is a precondition for the enjoyment of human rights, especially the right to take part in cultural life, the right to private life, freedom of expression, freedom of religion, and of course, the most important for the sake of this event is the right to education. At the same time, though, human rights are a necessary tool for the protection and promotion of cultural heritage. For instance, in order to fulfill the right to education, the materiality and also the preservation of cultural heritage plays a crucial role, because cultural heritage is a means to gain knowledge about our origins, our past glories, but also our historical mistakes. So this dimension of the importance of the human right to education in the protection of cultural heritage can also be seen in the main international cultural heritage law instruments, where they have provisions on education, information, and also raising awareness, especially between the younger generations. Now, in 2021, Kumbul Buldevari, who is the UN Special Rapporteur on the right to education, warned about the destruction of cultural heritage necessary for the fulfillment of the right to education. She argued that by destructing cultural heritage, there is an ongoing violation of the right to memory that renders non-national and misaligned communities invisible. So disinformation, or a total lack of information about the contributions of different communities to society, reinforces prejudices against those communities, and also highlights the idea of otherness. And as unfortunately we can see on our own countries, ultranationalist parties exploit the situation to inflame hatred against different sectors of population. But yet the social uniformity they seek, it's totally at odds with current trends of globalization, and also, of course, with the construction of broad multicultural societies. So this situation leads me to address the need to take a human rights-based approach to the protection of cultural heritage. And to this end, let me focus on Europe. The right to education has been especially useful in claiming the legal protection of cultural heritage in the European system of human rights. And why it's so? Well, the European Convention on Human Rights does not recognize the right to participate in cultural life as such. So in the case of Ahunbay and others against Turkey, the European Court of Human Rights had to decide whether the construction of a dam and consequently the destruction of archaeological heritage amounted to a violation of the right to education, as stated in Article 2 of the Protocol 1. The claimants argued that the destruction of archaeological heritage breaches the right to understand the past and that cultural heritage and transmit the values of that heritage to the future generations, either within or outside Turkey. So, albeit the European Court of Human Rights first recognized a common European standards of protection of cultural heritage, it did not follow an evolutive interpretation of the right to education. When the European Court actually declared the case inadmissible, ratione materiae, it emphasized that the right to access cultural heritage only concerned certain collectivities, such as minority groups or indigenous peoples. Still, against this backdrop, I think that there are two considerations worth mentioning for the sake of setting strategic litigation in this realm. So first, concerning the legal standing, individuals, groups, and NGOs have to prove that they are victims of any breaches by state parties to the rights that are recognized in the European Convention. Now, by the inherent nature of cultural heritage, which is of course of value not only for local communities, but also to humanity as a whole, there is no need to prove that one is an exclusive victim, meaning that in fact, there can be other potential victims, but their intervention in the case is not indispensable. In the case of Silogos ton Atinayon against the United Kingdom, the European Court of Human Rights accepted the legal standing of this Greek association because it was founded with the aim to preserve and maintain all the artworks related to the history of Athens. Even if, on this occasion, again, the European Court also declared the case inadmissible, ratione materiae, it did not question the legal standing of Silogos. And so it happens with Ahunbay and others, who appear before the court as a group of victims. This group were composed of 3 archaeologists with projects in the region, an art lawyer, and also a journalist who was specialized in cultural heritage matters. So they argued that in case Turkey continued with the construction of the dam, not only they personally, but also humanity as a whole will suffer a violation of the right to education. Again, this line of argumentation was not contested by the European Court just in terms of legal standing. As per the second consideration, the European Court of Human Rights opened the door for those who de facto belong to a minority to rely on cultural heritage-related rights. In turn, those who do not belong to such minorities should continue establishing clear connections between cultural heritage and the right to education to push the court towards a more evolutive interpretation of the European Convention. And let me be clear in this point, I think this is not a far-fetched proposal, since if we see all the case law of the European Court in cultural-related cases, we can see that the underlying assumption is that pluralism and an intercultural dialogue are essential pillars for the setting of democratic societies. Thus, there is still room for pursuing the protection of cultural heritage through the defense of human rights, and especially the right to education. So to conclude, let me address the question of why is the legal protection of cultural heritage relevant for education, and why should we pursue such protection from a human rights perspective in this kind of strategic litigation trend. So first of all, human rights instruments empower individuals, groups, and communities via the states to claim the protection of their cultural heritage and the right to education altogether. Although, as we've seen, this is still limited in the case of the European system, but it's more open in other regional and international systems of human rights. Second, as a result of the former, human rights mechanism enables state accountability for the destruction of cultural heritage and lack of fulfillment of the right to education, therefore providing effective remedies to the victims that otherwise will not have access to. And last but not least, stressing the human dimension of cultural heritage allows for the expansion of its international protection without the need to prove that there is an outstanding universal value, thereby putting forward the protection of those cultural properties that maybe are denied or neglected by its states, but nevertheless are important for the peoples. Thank you so much. And I leave the floor to the following speaker.
Thank you very much, Vanessa, for the food for thought. And let's continue with Mr. David Cotterell, Research Professor and Director of Culture and Creativity Research Institute, Sheffield Hallam University, UK.
Thank you. I'm also an artist, and I thought it might be interesting not to talk about my own work, but to talk about how the increase in access to cultural heritage through my life has affected me, and how it's kind of made me aware of some of the enormous advantages, but also some of the risks of the evolving access to information. As a child growing up in the 1970s and 80s in an extraordinarily diverse area of East London, my understanding of the cultural wealth of the world was mediated. I received glimpses of the complexity of global diversity through visiting the free museums of London and the priceless wonders from unimaginable cultures past and present that were archived there. I had access to long out-of-print encyclopedias handed down from family members that provided extraordinarily objectified views of others. Even as a young child, I was shocked, and I could feel the jarring friction between this pre-war understanding of the world and the more informed experience that I believed I was part of within the urban complexity of 20th century London. But to fill in the gaps, we had libraries, we had access to subjective fiction and factual accounts from long past witnesses. We had the BBC documentaries and radio, which was diligently trying to attract us to education through exoticization of foreign cultures, alternate societies, histories and stories from beyond our own experience. And then I had the anecdotes from school friends, the experience of their diaspora families. Friends would come back from Bangladesh or Mauritius or Uganda and regale us with accounts of cultures and societies, landscapes and parameters which were very different from the ones that we were familiar with. They're also very different from my friends' experiences, who grew up and lived in London with me. From a left-leaning family, I grew up globally curious. I was sensitized to the problematic post-imperial legacy of my country and aware of the struggle that was occurring between xenophobia and tolerance around me. I knew that there was a rise in fringe far-right groups, but I believed that there was a gradual progression towards progressive politics. I smugly felt that I encountered the world in a self-critical, considered, and humble way. I was confident that my support for liberal campaigns like the ANC, the Cuban Solidarity Campaign for Nuclear Disarmament, and International Socialism effectively mitigated for a landscape shaped through extracted wealth and decorated with the monocultural monuments to imperial advocates I could see in the city. I saw myself as capable of transcending the limitations of the knowledge that was fed to me, and felt confident that life would continue to offer opportunities to challenge, inform, and refine any poor assumptions, empathetic limitations, and ignorance that can be fostered through distance. Later, as an art student, I was still desperate to get further away, officially in order to gain a perspective on my own practice, but possibly to try and gain a new understanding of my own context. I managed to secure an exchange to Vancouver and ventured 7,500 kilometers to see if I could feel more at home in myself. After arriving, an early opportunity arose through a new friendship with someone who was equally geographically dislocated and demonstrably braver than me. He declared that he wanted to visit the Queen Charlotte Islands, Haida Gwaii. I realized that this was the place that the spectacular totem pole that I had seen as a child within the stairwell of the British Museum had probably come from. I agreed. We packed for a trek. We got on a standby flight and arrived in Sandspit, a tiny place on the southern tip of the Northern Island, ready for an 80-mile walk to Masset, where the Haida were based. It was February, minus 20 degrees at night, and we had summer sleeping bags and $20 waterproofs. The journey was inevitably life-changing. It was fraught and beautiful. When we arrived at Masset, we both felt we had cheated death and were haunted by the mesmerizing experience of fear, the magic in our dreams, and the memories of sublime. The experience, though, was shocking for other reasons. When we arrived at this ancient town, fated within museums around the world, we saw few totem poles or log cabins or monuments to its extraordinary culture and history. Instead, we saw tin-roofed huts, impoverished fishing communities, and a resilient attempt to recreate a fractured living culture. As I learned about the reasons for the break in history that they'd experienced, I realized that I was implicated. It didn't matter if I was a socialist or descended from modest families or personally aware. My passport and my identity tied me to the wrong side of a historic catastrophe. My complacent belief in personal transcendence of personal identity was shattered. My belief that the evidence offered to me would inevitably lead to truth was shattered. The previous encounters with the evidence of cultural heritage had in no way offered any contextual understanding for the politics of their acquisition or for the destruction of the culture of their origin. I left feeling profoundly that traveling was not about gaining expertise about the lives of others, but instead it was to challenge our understanding of our own. Of course, children now don't have to be limited to 1920s encyclopedias and the BBC. They have access to potentially limitless knowledge through the internet. Manuscripts are being digitized from all over the world, and archives all around the world are made freely available. Museum objects are being scanned and can be globally encountered. There is pluralism of narratives can be found, shared, and attributed to some of the artifacts that we've had before without full contextual understanding. Museums are being challenged to repatriate artifacts, and debates about where they should belong are revealing the complexity of their meanings. However, there are risks. Having a universal evidence base, or a perceived one, can create enforced beliefs. There is an enduring need for analysis and subjective interpretation. This continues, and in some ways becomes even more challenging when you're not looking at a library, but you're looking at the world's libraries. There is complacency in the belief that evidence can engender empathy, or that it automatically will. And more dangerously, there is exhaustion, or a sense of being overwhelmed that could lead to a retreat to simplification as a response to infinite complexity. The new access to information does not necessarily reveal an elegant truth, but it can demonstrate the impossibility of ever knowing that we can ever know enough. Access to information does not increase our objectivity. it still relies on the need for personal or received selection, editing, and contextualization. The growing risk as we lend unchallenged authority to increasingly sophisticated indexing, search, and AI is that we might fail to be critical. As with my attempt to explore the world through museums or encyclopedias or travel, our enduring task remains to strive to understand and acknowledge the subjectivity of the narratives that we continue to consume and construct. Perhaps we need to learn how to take this enormous and growing opportunity for learning as a way to reclaim humility, to maintain curiosity, and while accepting the excitement and the potential for a lifetime of engagement with the diversity of human culture. We need to be more aware of its potential to continuously reframe and challenge our subjective understanding of ourselves.
Thank you very much, David. And now it's time to continue to Ms. Harako Kiu, Visiting Assistant Professor, Tulane University, Department of Philosophy.
Hi, everyone, and thank you so much for all these, first of all, for the invitation, and secondly, for all these amazing projects and the reflections. I will also give a talk, a more theoretical approach to cultural heritage. My talk is on cultural heritage and philosophy as a charming, hungry beast. In this talk, I won't discuss the meaning of cultural heritage or the importance of preserving it. Instead, I aim to show why and how philosophy preserves cultural heritage. I'll begin with a hypothetical scenario and adjust its details to highlight the transition from the personal to the collective realm through the concept of cultural heritage. Then I'll examine the connections between cultural memory and philosophical imagination, demonstrating how philosophy preserves humanity's story by engaging us in constant interaction with ourselves and our environment across time through a sense-making process. So I'll start by a case study. 10-year-old Anna climbs the Eiffel with her father to celebrate her birthday as usual. She feels a mix of fear and excitement. She believes that she is more than 300 meters above the ground, which is correct. She also believes that the Eiffel is the tallest building in the world, which is incorrect. From the top, she admires the Parisian landmarks. She has visited the Roundabout, Montmartre, the Arc de Triomphe, the Champ de Mars, the River Seine. She remembers Monet, Toulouse-Lautrec, Bonaparte, the French Revolution, and D-Day. Distracted, she mistakes a distant purple object for Aladdin's magic carpet, but it's probably those clouds of pink and purple fluff that blossom in Paris during spring. Toying with the idea that this could be a magic carpet, she imagines her mother inviting her to climb board. She recalls her mother's soft touch and unforgettable scent as they fly through the clouds. Whispering their favorite song, Prince Ali, Fabulous He, I'm not gonna sing it now, her mother's face fades away. She looks at her father and sheds a tear. She lost her mother 2 years ago. First, let's attempt a definition of culture. Defining culture, of course, is an extremely difficult task. Nevertheless, Clifford Geertz's definition of culture as a cognitive system meets the needs of the current discussion, I think. According to Geertz, culture denotes a historically transmitted pattern of meanings embodied in symbols, a system of inherited conceptions expressed in symbolic forms by means of which men communicate, perpetuate, and develop their knowledge about and attitudes toward life. Secondly, let's try to answer what exactly can be viewed as cultural heritage in the above story. So we have the tangible forms of cultural heritage, Eiffel, the Parisian sites, in general, and the spring blossoms in Paris. They all have historical, aesthetic, and of course, socio-cultural significance. They are integral parts of a shared history. And we also have the intangible forms of cultural heritage, the allusions to historical figures and events, the painters, Bonaparte, the French Revolution, and the D-Day. They represent artistic and historical achievements. And we also have the individual, the personal legacy, the memories of the movie, the magic carpet, and the famous song are products of modern pop culture, but they can also be considered part of cultural heritage, especially in terms of shared cultural references. Of course, Disney contributes to intangible culture on a giant scale, but in this section, we're focusing on how specific shared cultural references, like between a mother and a daughter, or most importantly, across population, contribute to cultural heritage. Movies and songs transform cultural narratives, preserving a shared global culture while foregrounding specific cultural identities. Now let's try to expand the story to a broader collective frame. If you replace Anna and her own perceptions, beliefs, values, and memories with a group of school friends with some shared or similar perceptions, beliefs, values, and memories, who visit the Eiffel Tower every year to celebrate Mardi Gras. And this is the second scenario. Or with the citizens of Paris who visit the Eiffel every year to celebrate Beaujolais Nouveau and see the fireworks. And this is the third scenario. Or with the whole French nation who climb to the top of the Eiffel every year to celebrate the Bastille Day, the fourth scenario. You can easily notice that all these groups have something in common. They share a strong sense of collective identity constructed by cultural heritage, both tangible and intangible. At its heart is an awareness of togetherness. The Parisian sights, legends, the festive songs and shared stories, like Anna's imagined magic carpet ride, form a rich tapestry of collective memory. These common references instill unity, binding people across time. Likewise, cultural heritage crosses physical boundaries. If our protagonists, and this is the fifth and last scenario, were German athletes who visited Paris for the Olympics, they would recognize and appreciate the Parisian sites as part of the world's legacy. By combining what they learned about Paris with their own perceptions, beliefs, values, and memories, they connect with the global community, feeling part of a global culture. This journey transcends national boundaries, ultimately forming a new kind of global consciousness. I will now turn to the second part of this talk and briefly discuss how cultural memory connects to the imagination, and most importantly, to cultural imagination, paving the way for the connection between cultural memory and philosophy. So cultural memory preserves a community's shared history, values, and narratives. We are all familiar with the term memory bank. I personally think it's a dodgy metaphor because bank implies safe storage and easy retrieval, whereas our memories resemble a jigsaw puzzle with many missing pieces. Now, imagination is a kind of mental storytelling, representational in character. Through the generation of mental imagery, imagination enables us to go beyond the limits of perceptual reality by fusing memories of the past, current thoughts and feelings, and possibilities for the future. To understand how this mechanism helps both individuals and communities connect with their cultural heritage, making it a living part of their identity, let's see how cultural memory interacts with philosophical imagination in particular. Philosophical inquiry is a sense-making process that involves constant debate and exchange, which gives meaning to the body and the world. It advances dialectic engagement, uncovering how the individual, biologically distinct yet inherently social, is shaped to a large extent by the social environment. Philosophical imagination is a key element of philosophical inquiry, which enriches cultural memory by exploring and redefining cultural narratives to resonate with contemporary realities and human needs. Unlike disciplines such as classics, history, or archaeology, which focus on historical accuracy and factual documentation to preserve cultural heritage and do so impeccably, philosophy takes a different path by raising questions like, who are you? Why do you think the way you do? What does the world around you actually mean to you? And why do all these things matter? Both cultural memory and philosophy go beyond the limits of space and time, enabling collaborations among scholars worldwide, reviving concepts, theories, and traditions, and leveraging digital technology to create platforms accessible to a global audience. Like cultural memory, philosophical imagination engages with ideas from various eras and areas, constantly redefining its scope and integrating past wisdom with contemporary thought. So I think it is only legitimate to say that philosophy is a charming, hungry beast. Why charming? Well, because philosophy is a witch transforming and being transformed, enchanting us with its magic and deep reflections on foundational concepts. As a self-conscious educative process, philosophy questions established wisdom and explores happiness, existence, life and death, including what happens before and after, morality, consciousness, and human experience. This inquiry offers a lens to view the interconnections and values within and across cultural traditions. Why a hungry beast? Well, philosophy is driven by an insatiable curiosity. This perpetual hunger for inspiration leads it to seek understanding and connection with otherness in a positive way, with what's different and can be learned from. Philosophy values universal principles and the human condition. It nurtures critical and compassionate thinking. It raises questions central to every culture's heritage and encourages a strong connection to one's roots while cultivating an inclusive global mindset. By addressing everyday human needs and creating cultural hybrids that span time and space, philosophy expands cultural memory into new collective spaces and deepens the relevance of cultural heritage to our lives. It ensures that cultural heritage is understood, enriched, and preserved in the context of our shared human experience, transcending historical boundaries. In doing so, philosophy reveals, maintains, and communicates essential aspects of cultural heritage, the heart of global education, enabling continuous cultural dialogue and ensuring cultural heritage is not lost, but continually rediscovered. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Hara, for the philosophical aspect. And now for the first session, we have our last speaker, Mr. Spiriton Kogas, co-founder and CEO of Imagine Heritage NPO and Heritage Advisor.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank the EdHeroes organization for this honor to include Imagine Heritage to this important event. And for us, it's much more important just because we are a brand new organization with almost just 15 months of operation. Of course, the most important thing for me today is all these reflections and presentations of you. And what I want to share is mostly a thought that is under elaboration the last years that I think that I feel myself to be a member of a global heritage movement mostly from a civil society point of view. For me, the most important thing today, and I have the impression that all the presentations reach this point, is why we need heritage. If we need heritage today in order to continue divide ourselves, our communities, our cultures, our civilizations, probably there is a huge problem that we have to sit down and reconsider again about our scientific heritage and all our scientific views and tools. And I have this feeling because I think that today, especially because of the climate crisis, but at the same time because of this threat of the war that coming again and again, we have to be very responsible and go back to speak about the heritage from an ethical point of view. And to speak about this from an ethical point of view means that we want again to protect the humanity with a global sense. And this is the most important thing that I believe that scientists, citizens, organizations and organisms from all around the world today should work about. To get connected, to be connected, to build bridges in order to redefine that the meaning of heritage today has to do with the whole meaning of existence. I can just, give an example that is coming from our first action as a non-profit organization the last year. Our first action was about the destruction outside of Athens of the region of Mati from the burning and fires that killed over 100 people. Our decision was to create a series of events, art exhibitions, seminars, workshops for the kids and the schools of the northern part of Athens, with the support of the municipality of Athens and of Kifisia municipality and the Green Fund organization, because we wanted to speak about the heritage of the trauma, because we wanted to start and speak about these families that lost all these people without any responsibility from the state. Because we wanted, first of all, to discuss with the young students that heritage is this forest, is these people that used to have memories in this forest that disappeared. So if today we are reaching this point and we are still on the 21st century and is not possible even at the center of the Europe to protect the green heritage and the human life, so something wrong, goes around all our perceptions. So from this point of view, I really thank you because all the presentations together reach this need to make actions, to reconsider again our thoughts and our scientific tools, and the most important thing to be useful to community, back to community. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. I would like to thank all of you for being here with us today, and of course EdHeroes for having this opportunity to participate through the global forum. Thank you very much.